Kishi is an average 40-year-old loser who has no girlfriend because he is low-key ugly and also busy working all the time. On his days off, he tends to his kitchen garden and watches generic Isekai anime. One day, as he is in the middle of doing some online shopping, he suddenly vanishes, and the very next moment, he finds himself in a forest, thanks to Shrek's mischievous niece. He has no clue about what is happening, but as he sees the skeletal remains of a knight and some flowers that he has never seen before in his life, he realizes he is far away from home. Since he has always been a weeb, he tries to open a status window, and when it actually pops up in his face, he freaks out and falls to the ground. Now certain that he is in another world without the help of almighty Truck Kun, Kishi takes a moment to process that he is living the dream of every anime fan out there. He then checks his status window that only has the item box and trash options in it, and there is nothing like his base stats. Also, there is another option called Shangri-La, which is the name of the online shopping website Kishi uses most often since he doesn't trust Bezos with his credit card data. He is surprised to find that he can access the site using his system window, and then checks out the item box by placing a plant inside it. Kishi fiddles around with the trash feature a bit to find that he can remove the mud clods from the plant and dump them outside without bringing out the plants. Suddenly, he starts feeling hungry and decides to try the shopping app, but unfortunately, he has no money to buy anything. He wonders if he can sell something and tries with the plant in his item box. The item box tells him that it is weed, but not the kind that fetches you money. Kishi thinks there is no hope when his eyes fall on the sword in the skeleton's chest. He sells the sword for 98,000 yen, and that is more than enough to feed him for a few days. He also buys a shovel to make a grave for the dead warrior, then buys a bicycle to move quickly through the forest and a monocular to see his surroundings. He begins to look for a settlement and comes up with a business plan to sell things from the modern world to the ignorant peasants here. One evening, as he is having a comfortable dinner, he sees a bunch of dog-like monsters approaching him. He freaks out and begins looking for weapons online. But obviously the app was not based in America, so he doesn't get anything useful. He first throws some fireworks at the monsters, but that doesn't scare them much. Luckily, he finds a slingshot, a weapon that he knows how to use, even though his aim is worse than a stormtrooper's. He manages to hit a couple of monsters after wasting a few bullets, and they decide to retreat quickly. Kishi uses this chance and cycles away from them as fast as he can, not stopping till it is morning. He is at the edge of the forest now, and finds that there is a city nearby. He thinks this is the start of his business empire, and he purchases a leather bag and some black pepper with the last of his funds. He begins heading towards the road, crossing the tall grass, and almost gets run over by a merchant carriage. The merchant Fayu learns that Kishi is heading towards the city as well, so he gives him a ride alongside the traveling bard. Once they reach the city, Kishi helps Fayu unload some stuff. Fayu thanks him, but Kishi says he should be the one thanking him for telling him a lot about the city and business on the way. To thank Fayu, Kishi gives him the bag of black pepper, and this makes the blonde merchant nervous. He whispers in Kinishi's ear to stop thinking about selling spices, because a scary merchant group named Bacopa has the monopoly on it. Fayu says that one should never sell spices openly, but if it is a private deal, it is fine. He begins looking for his purse, but Kishi says that he doesn't need money. Fayu replies that as a merchant, he loves getting things for cheap but never for free. He gives Kishi some copper and silver coins, whose value is 50,000 yen, and Kishi is shocked because he got the black pepper for just 950 yen. After that, he walks around the city for a bit before finding an inn. A cheerful girl named Azalea greets him at the inn and starts making small talk while registering him. She finds that Kishi wants to be a merchant, but he can't read or write the language of this country. She tells him that if he can't read and write and do basic math, the merchant guild won't accept him. Kishi asks her to teach him how to read and write because he is already good at math, and in exchange, he will give her candies from another country. His honey trap works on Azalea, who learns the true meaning of happiness on eating candies that would usually be far beyond her reach. She begins to teach Kishi how to read and write their language, and he picks it up quickly because it is not much different from Japanese. While he practices, Azalea makes herself comfortable in his room, and she starts seducing Kishi because she is sure that he will become a successful businessman soon. Kishi tells her not to bother with him because he is old enough to be her father, but Azalea is ready to call him daddy. Kenishi then gives her a Titanic-style sketch of her, and Azalea is so intensely rizzed by that, she immediately jumps on him and lets him clap those cheeks. The next day, Kenishi goes to the Merchant Guild and gets his ID, which is like a small wand. After that, he takes a stroll around the market, learning the value of various items. A fruit vendor grabs his attention with her melons and asks him to buy something from her. Kenishi doesn't even know about the fruits of this world, but he buys them and then asks Azalea about them later. She tells him about the fruits and then asks if he managed to get his merchant license. Kenishi shows her the wand and she starts prancing with joy because now her sugar daddy can start earning. The next day, Kenishi does some carpentry to create a stall for himself while Azalea is watching over him. She notices the wooden cloth clips and tells him that he can sell them because they don't have good cloth clips here. After that, Kenishi goes to the market and takes the spot next to an old lady. As he pulls out his stall from the item box, the woman gets surprised and comes to check up on his wares. She finds that he is selling high-quality items, but what catches her attention the most are the wooden clips. She buys some from Kenishi and then introduces herself as Anama, a veteran merchant. Soon, the customers start coming to their shops, and most of them buy Kenishi's wooden clips. Thanks to that, Anama also gets more business than usual. Soon, a young blonde man comes to his shop, and seeing his clothes and his sword, Kenishi realizes that he must be fairly rich. The man is interested in knives, and he asks Kenishi if he has anything bigger than the things on display. Kenishi begins looking through the shopping app to find a bigger knife, and he soon finds a hunting knife that wins over the man's heart. He asks for the price, and seeing that the customer likes the hunting knife too much, Kenishi prices it at a gold coin. While the man debates if he should buy the splendid knife for a high price, a cat-eared furry appears before Kenishi and starts sniffing him. He is taken aback by this because he is not into furries, and then the cat girl licks his nose. Just then, her friends come there and smack her for misbehaving, and Kenishi finds that they are authentic furries. He gets freaked out on seeing them and then makes an excuse that he has never seen any beast folks before so that he doesn't sound racist. The cat people want mats like he has placed on the top of his stall, and Kenishi does the calculation for them. They start staring him down because they don't trust anyone who does math too fast. But when the blonde guy assures them that Kenishi's math is legit, they take the deal. Anama tells Kenishi that beast folk are dyslexic when it comes to math, so he shouldn't mind them. On the other hand, the blonde guy is also impressed by Kenishi's honesty with the naive beast folk, and he decides to buy the sword from him. Kenishi then returns to the inn and gets a better room with the profit he has earned in a day. He begins to think about the system window and the shopping app and wonders how it even works. He doesn't understand anything even after trying, so he calls it a day and goes to sleep. A couple of days later, Kenishi decides to sell some cheap jewelry, hoping that it is attractive enough to some rich lady. Anama is quite impressed with the collection herself, and she asks Kenishi about his supplier, but he tells her it is a secret. Just then, a maid who bought the cloth clips yesterday comes to Kenishi's shop again, and she orders 100 clips at once. Kenishi is surprised by the huge order, but he is glad to get more business. As he is busy counting the clips, the maid begins eyeing the jewelry. Kenishi tells her that each necklace costs 6 small silver coins, and the girl is quite surprised because it is cheaper than she thought. Kenishi offers to keep a necklace reserved for her in case she needs time to decide, and she takes up the offer. The business keeps booming throughout the day, and in the evening, the cat people come to see Kenishi again. He is intimidated by the look on their face, but it turns out they are here to buy some spices from Kenishi. They tell him that the girl has the sharpest nose among them, and she smelled spices on Kenishi last time. They beg him to sell some spices to them because they really like spicy food, but Anama tells them to stop making demands that will put Kenishi on the radar of the spice mafia. Kenishi affirms, saying that he can't sell them any spice, but when the cats grovel before him, he decides to come up with a loophole. Instead of selling them spices, he decides to treat them to spicy food by the riverside, and Anama asks if she can tag along too. He agrees, and then the cats waste no time as they grab Kenishi and run to the river. It is already night by the time they reach the river, and while Kenishi and Anama prep the vegetables and spices, the cats catch some fish for them. Kenishi cooks a spicy curry for them, and the cats love it. They begin craving some alcohol to go with it, and Kenishi has got them covered in that department too. As the cats drink and dance, Anama tells Kenishi that he is too kind and trusting, and that can create problems for him in the future. Kishi doesn't think too much about it and spends the rest of the night partying with the cat people, and then snuggling with the girl named Mayu. The next morning, as he goes back to his inn, Azalea becomes jealous as she sees Mayu's hair on his shirt, and Kishi starts fearing that he will no longer get the Gluck Gluck 3000 from her. Anyway, he sets up shop in the same spot again when suddenly, a pretty girl with a gravity-defying plot walks towards him. Kishi is smitten by her, and then he notices the maid behind her. He asks if she is here to buy the necklace, and she pays him for it. The maid shows the necklace to her master, who is impressed to learn that it is just polished glass and not diamond despite its looks. She takes a look at other necklaces too and asks Kishi if he has more. He pulls out some more from his item box, and the girl is left speechless. She introduces herself as Primula, the daughter of the owner of the prestigious Mallow Trading Company, and requests Kishi to meet her father. Kishi turns to Anama for advice, and she tells him that the owner of the Mallow Company is a good man who is respected by everyone in the city. Kishi immediately takes up the chance to form connections with a major business group. On the ride to her home, Primula tells Kishi that she was trying to copy his wooden cloth clips, but her craftsman couldn't get the spring right. Kishi doesn't mind that because he knows things like this are bound to happen in business. Soon, they reach her mansion, and though Kishi is impressed by it, Primula tells him that it is nothing compared to the mansion of nobles. Kishi then meets Primula's dad, Mr. Mallow, who assesses the jewelry he has. He then reveals that he also has an item box, and that was the main reason his business grew so big. After drinking tea and cracking jokes, Mallow gets to business and asks Kishi to become his company's exclusive supplier. Kishi asks why he doesn't just buy the items from him for cheap and resell them at a higher price, and Mallow says it would be the most foolish thing he can do as a businessman. He explains that it will hurt his relationship with Kishi, which he doesn't want. Also, if one of his rivals uses this chance to sign an exclusive contract with Kishi, it would be the worst thing for him. He says that he believes in building trust with talented merchants to grow together, and then offers Kishi 50% of the profit from selling the jewelry. Kishi gladly takes the deal without negotiating, and then supplies some pretty brooches to Mallow as his first shipment. However, instead of letting them do business with it, Primula decides to buy them all for herself. She offers Kishi 10 gold coins for all the brooches, and it takes him a bit of time to realize that he is getting 2 million yen from this deal. Now that he has a fair amount of money to his name, Kishi decides to get a house outside the city so that he can live a slow and peaceful life. He picks out a nice area near the city border and then purchases a lawnmower to cut the grass and create a rough road. He then buys a gas-powered chainsaw to fell some trees, which takes him all day. He decides to put the trees inside his item box, but they are too big to fit inside. That's what she said. So he cuts them down to smaller pieces and finds that he cannot store anything that is longer than 10 meters. He decides to call it a day with that, and the next morning, he starts digging out the tree stumps from the ground. However, that is much harder than just cutting trees down with a chainsaw, and Kishi gives up before even exposing the roots of the first tree. He buys a second-hand mini excavator to pull out the tree stumps, but that cost him 1.2 million yen, which is almost half of his total net worth. On top of that, he finds that the excavator needs diesel to run, and they don't sell it online. The closest thing he can find is some camping fuel, but that is much more expensive than normal gas. However, Kishi has no choice but to keep investing money in the excavator if he doesn't want it to be a piece of junk. He also purchases a diesel generator to see if the camping fuel can power it, and he is successful in running the diesel and the excavator. Later at night, he takes a bath in the river, but the bug bites all over his hands start itching. He remembers Azalea telling him to buy bug-repellent magic stones from the tool store at the edge of the market and goes there the next morning. He finds an old magician who runs the shop, and he is really curious about Kishi after learning that he is from another country. He tells Kishi that a bug-repellent stone is worth 3 silver coins, but when Kishi gives him oranges, a fruit that is not found in this country, the old man knocks down the price to 2 silver coins. Later, Kishi opens his store again, and Anama tells him that the old man knows a lot of things. She tells him to be on good terms with him because he can help him out with a lot of things. While talking, Kinishi's attention goes to the wanted posters on the wall, and Anama tells him that they recently increased the bounty on Shaga, the leader of the bandits in this area. Kishi doesn't care much about the bandit guy and returns to his plot after concluding business for the day. Using his excavator, he easily digs out the tree stumps and flattens the area to lay the foundation for his house. However, the problem is that he doesn't have much money in his account after the recent shopping spree, and he needs to save a lot before starting to build his dream house. To earn some cash quickly, Kishi goes to Mallow's house with powdered sugar kept in the same pot that he used to keep his grandma's ashes. Mallow snorts the sugar and thinks that it is a high-quality product, but unfortunately, he cannot buy it. He explains that the country holds the exclusive right to buy sugar and salt, so Kishi can't sell it to others. He gets depressed on hearing that, but then Mallow tells him that the jewelry is getting popular among the nobles, so Kishi decides to deal in only that for now. He gives some brooches to Mallow, and that earns him 15 gold coins, which equals 3 million yen. That is more than enough for him to purchase a log cabin online, and he orders it without even reading the details. Only after a pile of wood lands in front of him, he realizes that he has to build the cabin himself. Depression hits him again, but he feels better after reading the instructions and decides to assemble the cabin by himself because it seems easy enough. Luckily, the cat people pass through the area soon, and they decide to help him to repay him for sharing the delicious meal with them earlier. Even with their help, it takes Kishi almost a month to build the cabin while maintaining his business on the side. He throws a barbecue party for the cat people on the completion of his house, and then goes inside to plop on his bed that is pretty much the only thing in the cabin. After that, he starts working on furnishing his house, and it takes him another month and a lot of money. He makes a wooden fence to surround the house and garden. He then buys a portable bathroom to compost his shit into manure. He also installs the plumbing in the house by himself and then purchases solar panels and batteries so that he can have a constant supply of electricity. As the cherry on the top, he purchases a bath tank and enjoys his first hot bath since coming to this world. After his home is fully furnished, Kishi goes to the inn and tells Azalea that he has his own place now, so he won't be staying here. He thanks her for everything, and she is left speechless because she didn't think he would move away so soon. The next morning, Kishi rides his cycle into the forest and with the help of a DSLR he recently purchased, clicks pictures of the flowers that he has never seen before. Suddenly, an arrow hits his bike and he crashes onto the ground. Before he can even process what is happening, more arrows come towards him, but luckily he dodges all of them. As he hides behind a tree, he hears some forest-dwelling beast folk talking about him. They don't like Kishi because he built a house near the forest, and they decide to kill him so that he doesn't bother them. Kishi realizes that he doesn't have to play nice with these racist pricks, so he uses all the weapons in his arsenal. He first shoots them with his slingshot, and even though his accuracy is really low, the damage is enough to knock down the beast folk in one hit. He then throws some fireworks to intimidate them and then summons his excavator to send them running. He then decides to head back home, when suddenly, he hears someone crying behind the bushes. He goes to see who is it, and to his surprise, it is a huge purple cat, who has been injured by the arrows of the beast folk. Kishi wants to help it, but he is worried that he may get bitten, so he purchases some cushions and ties them around his arm and neck. He then pulls out the arrow from the cat's body, and it doesn't try to fight him, so he realizes that he can treat it further. He then sanitizes its wound with alcohol and then applies antiseptic cream before giving the cat some painkillers. However, he is not sure if the cat can survive being out in the wild, so he takes it home. He grows concerned when the cat doesn't even move, and the next morning, he goes to the old wizard to ask if there is a way to heal it using magic. The old wizard calls him crazy for trying to save a bobcat and suggests he sell its skin instead. Kishi doesn't want to do that, and then the cat girl Mayu finds him. She learns the story and tells him that bobcats are considered messengers of God among her people, and she wants to see it. Kishi takes her to his place and finds that the wild bobcat has become a little active. To thank him for saving the cat, Mayu hunts some birds, and then gives him the Gluck Gluck 2000 at night. After a few days have passed, the bobcat is fully healed, and Kishi lets it out in the wild. He takes some time off from his shop after that, and instead focuses on farming. Since he needs a lot of water for that, he decides to dig a well for his own use, and it takes him about a week to do that. Just as he is about to take a bath, Primula comes there looking for him. She says that she was worried because he had not opened his shop in a while, but thankfully Mayu told her about his house. She is surprised on seeing the things around the house though, especially the excavator. Kishi can't tell her the truth, so he says that it is his familiar, and asks her to keep it a secret that he can use magic. Primula believes him and agrees to keep his secret safe. And then Kishi realizes that it is already past time for the city gates to be closed. Primula tells him that she will stay at his place, and she has no issue at all about sharing a bed with him. Just then, her gaze goes to the water-filled drum, and on learning that it is a bath, her face lights up. She takes a bath soon, but gets scared on hearing the sound of wild animals and asks Kishi to stay close to her. After that, he gives her a bathrobe and a night dress, and Primula senses huge business potential in both these items. She tells Kishi that he should sell them because they would be really popular among the nobles, but he tells her that he doesn't want to do anything with those inbreeding assholes who think they own the world. He then makes a sketch of Primula to riz her up, which makes her really happy, but she doesn't give him the chance to clap those cheeks. The next day, as they ride a carriage to the city, Kishi wonders how is he going to explain to Mallow that he spent a night with his daughter, but luckily, Mallow is an open-minded person so he doesn't ask anything about it. They go inside and Kishi shows Mallow the towels and nightgowns on Primula's insistence. The businessman is really impressed by that, and then Kishi decides to show him some sensuous lingerie that will be a hit among women who want to seduce someone. Mallow facepalms, thinking that his daughter wore this last night when she stayed over at Kinishi's place, but he tells her that he was just joking and puts it away. Just then, the maid comes there with their ledgers because the kingdom is changing the method in which business records are kept. Mallow explains that recently, the technique called double bookkeeping is being made popular all over the country, thanks to a certain man who has lately influenced a lot of their kingdom's policies. That is obviously a term from the modern world, and Kishi begins suspecting the man who invented this system here. After that, Mallow takes him outside to show him the new product his company is working on, and to his surprise, it is a hand pump. Mallow says that it is also a new item that is gaining popularity in the market, so he wanted to build it before his rivals. After seeing the hand pump, Kishi is certain that there is someone else in this world from the modern world. After that day, Primula starts coming over to Kinishi's house often, and sometimes she stays the night. On one such night, she tells him that she has to go on a purchase run for 1 month tomorrow, and she came here before that for something important. She asks Kishi to show her the racy lingerie he showed her father as a joke earlier, and he asks who does she want to seduce it with. She begins flushing red as she tells him that she wants to take a chance on him, but Kishi tells her to find someone closer to her age. Primula says that she is fine with the age gap, and even her father approves of him. This gives Kishi a headache because he doesn't want to make any serious commitments now, but he still allows Primula to cuddle with him all night. The next morning, after she leaves, the blonde knight who once bought a hunting knife from Kishi comes to his house and introduces himself as Paul. He says that he is here to investigate complaints about a shady man living in the forest, and though he trusts Kishi, he is suspicious about the solar panels. Kishi says that they are related to magic and then asks him to keep it a secret. Paul tells him that his silence will cost him, so Kishi gives him some high-quality steel bars to forge swords and a bottle of wine. Paul is so impressed by him that he decides to tell him about a unique magician in the capital who has the power to summon a sauce called mayo, and he can also defeat a dragon with that. Kishi is shocked to hear that, but now he is even more certain that this mysterious magician is from Earth.
Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated with the latest anime recaps and be the first to know when the next episode drops.